Growing up, listening to the bands that I listened to, I always wanted to be, not necessarily want to be a frontman, but I always wanted to be in a band. I always liked the idea of being in a band, and I liked the idea of sharing it with other people. Like I remember meeting my guidance counselor when I was in like 5th or 6th year, and I suggested that I wanted to do music, and she almost like dismissed the idea that was what I was going to study. I think songwriting is something that I've never really, this is going to sound kind of strange, but I've never really found it that difficult. You have to be critical. You have to criticize your own work, and you can't settle. And I think you have to constantly want to be better at what you do. To me, there is no limit. And I think you have to have that mindset if you want to succeed, and that goes for anything.
Friction's important as well.
It is, yeah, exactly. But there's a respect in the band.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you know? There's not. Oh, you know, someone has more say than another.
Yeah.
And everybody pulls their weight in an equal way, and that's something that again goes back to that's something that I've never had before.
Yeah.
It was the only thing that I really saw was that I was good at. And it's only in the last few years that I've really taken it seriously, where like I have to go for it, because if I don't, I'm going to hate myself for it.
We have a little cheers for you.
Cheers, yeah. Cheers, bro.
Planned for a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. John McCabe. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pear Pod. Thank you all for the positive feedback on the last one. It's my most viewed video on the channel, which is great. Today we have a special episode, one that's been planned for a while. Sitting with me is musical artist from Dublin and lead singer of indie band Don't Tell Mum, Mr. John McCabe. How are you, John? Thank you for coming.
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yes,
Delighted.
sir. So I know John from being young people, and you were always the guy with the guitar, always guy whipping out a guitar at a session or whatever. So it's good to know that you ended up actually putting it to use. That's positive. But did you see yourself as that when you were younger? That it was always music when you were growing up?
It's hard to say really, because like my parents are very musical. They've been in choirs for like decades, and there's always been music in my family. Like even my mum's brother, my uncle, he was always mad into music. And then I only really got into music when I was like 13 or 14, because it was always in my house. But my uncle gave my brother a guitar. Yeah. Bought him a guitar because obviously my brother was into music. And then I just kind of saw my brother playing guitar around the house. He taught himself to play guitar. And then around the time when I was 13 or 14, I started getting really into music. He still has them, but he used to have like a rack of CDs in his room. And I just used to listen to music that he listened to. And then when I was like 13, 14, I got into like Oasis and... Yeah,
what were the early musical influences?
Well, Oasis, which people probably know that, which most people would know that. But it would be Oasis, and then all those kind of indie bands around that time, like The Verve and Arctic Monkeys and Kasabian and U2. My brother was a huge U2 fan. It was always those kind of bands. And then I studied it in school. And then... I think when I got to then I started teaching myself. I got guitar lessons when I was like 14. Yeah. And then I started doing covers. And then when I was like 15, 16, I started toying with the idea of writing myself. Yeah. And like anybody that writes tunes would know it's a trial and error process. Like you're never going to be great at the start.
Don't fucking skip. You're skipping into my later questions. Like you skip through the whole childhood. Like, but I was going to say, so... You say you picked up or you started doing guitar lessons. So I'm kind of surprised knowing you that you weren't just like, fuck it, I'm going to do it myself, like Ed Sheeran job, and just be like.
Do you mean like recently?
No, in general. Like, did you always see yourself being like a front man of a band versus a solo artist? Like,
yeah. And the short answer, because growing up listening to the bands that I listened to, I always wanted to be, not necessarily want to be a frontman, but I always wanted to be in a band. I always liked the idea of being in a band, and I liked the idea of sharing it with other people. Yeah. I never really wanted the kind of do it yourself kind of thing, and just it all be about you, like be an artist that's just your name and people behind you. Yeah. I never really wanted it to be that. So I think that's come from the bands that I've listened to growing up and seeing what they have. And wanting it that way, you know.
So when you started then, so at what age were you like, I need to start, like what age you start playing gigs with like other groups or like previous like, musical projects you've had?
Well, I never really did, to be honest. Like as I said, when I was in school, I was doing music. It was only really when I went into when I went into 6th year and I realized that I wanted to do music. But even at that stage, I didn't really see it as a career. I just saw it as, okay, I'm going to do it for the leaving cert, and then I didn't know what I wanted to do in school.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking.
Yeah.
I was like, because if you'd asked me, I would have said, he's just going to do music. But it's a tall task in school to be like, I'm going to be a musician. Like, so was there like might have to just settle into an office gig?
Well, I think to be honest, the main thing about it is that when you're in school, you're not pushed to do that kind of thing.
Yeah,
you're not really encouraged to do an arts course or do like I remember meeting my guidance counselor when I was in like 5th or 6th year, and I suggested that I wanted to do music, and she almost like dismissed the idea that was what I was going to study. Mad. because there's no like, you know, legitimate kind of definite job afterwards, so that's not really pushed, so that kind of like discouraged me from doing it almost. And like I was always into English, and I always liked, like, you know, kind of the journalism kind of side of things. I've always liked words and stuff like that, so I probably would have done like an English course or something, but I was kind of discouraged from doing it as a career, basically. Do you know?
It's mad because so I did, obviously this kind of works into your songwriting in general. At what point were you like, you what age did you say you were 16? You started writing your own
16
music?
when I started writing. Yeah.
And I'm fascinated by that process because I can't do that. I have my own, like, for me, editing is my creative outlet, or like shooting. So what kind of moods do you get in to write songs? Where like does it change all the time, or what are some of the times where you're like, there's a song coming out of me? It's like late at night when you're feeling mad.
It's such a loaded question. It's hard.
Literally the point. Literally.
But it's just kind of hard to answer because there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah, but for me as a viewer, it's fascinating because I don't understand that process and how you go from like.
But it changes.
Simple things they bring. Ambiguous notions.
You've got it, man. You've got it.
Flawless.
You've got it. But to be honest, it changes over time. That's what I mean about the trial and error process. Like, I initially started wanting to do it because of the bands I was listening to and started playing covers and learning covers. And then through that, I was like, okay, well, I'll try and do this. So it's changed over time. But I mean, it can come from anything. It can come from messing around on a guitar. It can come from melodies that come through your own head. You can take inspiration from songs you listen to. You can, like, I mean, it goes into a whole massive conversation. I mean, you know, people think that all the songs you write are about you, which is just not the case.
Yeah.
Like, you can write a song about anything. Yeah. So, I mean, you definitely have to criticize your own work, and you have to...
You criticize my work enough, so I tell you how
that's where it comes from.
Hey, Jake.
Yeah.
Edit's coming.
Say nothing.
Holy shit, it's
say
coming.
Nothing.
But okay, so because Simple Things has come out, people who are listening, the band's first single, my debut directorial performance as well, is the lads' debut single Simple Things, which came out like this month, and the music video dropped as well. So that's available on YouTube now. It's available on Spotify. Go stream it. It's a fucking tune. But so getting into just writing, if we were talking about that song in particular, when did you write that song, and what was kind of the thoughts going through your head? Obviously, I've listened to it millions of times. I've listened to the lyrics backwards, so I have my own ideas of what it's about, but it'd be interesting to hear from your perspective. Yeah,
I mean, kind of just going back to the whole writing process. I mean, it's funny, I don't even really remember writing it. Like, I wrote that like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's how old it is. But
a different John.
Yeah. Oh, totally, man. Yeah, let's not get into
things.
that. Yeah.
Just want a point.
But it's different. I mean, like, I think with just going back on the songwriting thing, I think songwriting is something that I've never really, this is going to sound kind of strange, but I've never really found it that difficult. Yeah. It came so naturally to me when I started, and then I just kept doing it as a hobby, and then going back to the whole, like, pursuing it as a career. It was the only thing that I really saw was that I was good at. Yeah. And it's only in the last few years that I've really taken it seriously, where, like, I have to go for it, because if I don't, I'm going to hate myself for it.
It's very clear you understand melody and like how to put lyrics
exactly,
and how to
yeah,
structure. So
exactly.
Even the song you sent me on voice note, the one you guys are practicing, that's just the hook on it. It's like just one of those, you know, the classic ooh wee. Yeah. It's just one of those classic melodies.
Beach Boys or something. Yeah,
that's a fucking
tune. But writing that, I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, that song has generally stayed the same since I wrote it. Like, there's been 1 or 2 modifications and stuff, but like, but that's what I mean about things just happen. Like, you just, like, the way I would write anyway is I would just mess around on a guitar, and the melodies just start coming to me. Yeah. And then you can toy around with it. Like, I have songs that I like, you know, Rebel Child. Like, I started writing that like 4 years ago, and I only finished it like a year ago. Yeah. So like, I'd had parts of that there for 3 years. Whereas something like Simple Things, I'm pretty sure I wrote in just one go.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean,
I suppose it just completely depends on. This is a horrible comparison to draw. I'm not going to make me look great. I watched the Taylor Swift documentary. And she's like, sometimes it's just one go, it just all falls out, and sometimes like it takes a while. So yeah,
But that's just the writing process,
man.
It doesn't matter who it is.
Together.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyone says you can't put a tune together.
It doesn't matter who it is. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, you have to be critical. You have to criticize your own work, and you can't settle. Yeah. And I think you have to constantly want to be better at what you do.
Demand it from yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You have to want to be better at what you do, and I think that's something over the years that I've definitely been more critical of. Yeah, is my own writing and not settling for something. And I would take like lyrics is something that I would look a lot deeper into than probably most people. Yeah, like people people listen to songs and they just the lyrics almost bypass.
I'm
a lot
weird
of people.
for lyrics. Max will test this. I'm weird at listening to.
But that goes back to the whole English thing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That's the whole
fascination
the kind of
with language.
Exactly, and that comes down from my mum in particular. Yeah, she's loves language and she loves words and everything, and that's where I get it from her. Yeah, she reads a lot and stuff like that. So that's where the whole kind of that feeds into writing. Like there's a direct correlation between that. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah,
you probably have such an appreciation for like different artists who can put like Dermot Kennedy can put verses together, like and the way the way they structure it, particularly like pretty much every song that you pick. We can talk a little bit. We'll talk a little about the stream down the line. But so for me, where I get involved in your story is we were both in Canada. You were there just living with the lads, with some other friends of mine. And something at the end when you were leaving, you were like, when I go back, it's going to start. You were like, I don't know what I didn't really have a solid plan, but you were like, I'm going back. It's starting when I get back. So when you get home, there's going to be some stuff to do because it's starting. So I guess why then? What happened? What was your like fucking now's the time?
What triggered me?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of, I mean, if you're going back to like the very start of it, it's kind of a long story. I mean, obviously this goes back as far as kind of pursuing it as a career in the first place. I mean, I went to BIM because I didn't know what else I was going to do. And I thought, and to me, it was the only thing that I was actually good at, or at least that I thought I could do. And I didn't see going from secondary school to college as pursuing a career. I saw it as a stepping stone just to get out of school. Yeah. And I think then when I was in BIM, I probably didn't maximize the opportunity that I had being surrounded by loads of great musicians. Yeah, exactly. So because I went in with like my friends from school, I kind of just went into college and left college, and then that was it. And I didn't really maximize the opportunity.
Kind
of
and flashes then by, doesn't it?
Yeah, like that, man. Like so quickly, you know yourself. But so I was in college then, and then that just happened, and then I kind of knew only when I left that I was like, I could have. I felt guilty for a while. Yeah, I was like, I could have done so much more with that. And as you said, like people always know me as like, I play guitar, I write tunes or sing or whatever it is. Yeah. And it's always been that, but it's never been more than that. And I didn't realize that I was supposed to be pursuing a career when I was in college. And I feel like I missed the boat in that regard. Yeah. So then obviously when I went to Canada, and I've been in like, relationships that kind of stunted the progress in itself. We won't get into that. But it was only when I left that I kind of felt like I'd missed out on something. Yeah. And then I obviously went to Canada, spent like a year or two there. And I think I just got to like a point.
I love that you can't remember if it's a year or two. It was a year.
I was there, and then I went back, and it was whatever.
Oh, Vancouver.
Yeah.
Love it.
But it was just it was towards the end because I suppose looking back on it now, it was coming to a point where I had to kind of make a decision. I was planning to stay. My visa was up and I was planning to stay and get a British passport because I just didn't want to go home and go back to square one. Yeah. I really didn't. And I hadn't even entered my head that I would pursue music at that point. And all this kind of spun around in my head for a few weeks. And then I just got to a point and I was looking at people I went to college with playing gigs in like the Olympia and playing festivals, and something just clicked in me, and I was like, why am I doing this? Yeah. Like why? What? Like
it takes that sometimes.
Exactly. It wasn't that I was jealous. Yeah. I was envious.
It was made possible.
Yeah. I was envious because I knew that they had put in the work. Yeah. And they wanted it, and I was kind of putting it off, and I didn't know what I was going to do, and then I just kind of thought to myself, okay, well, if I don't do this now, I'm going to hate myself, and I can't say that I didn't try. Yeah. And then it's kind of like, when does it get to a point that you haven't succeeded. I mean, this goes into whole like what do you measure success as?
Yeah.
So that was where it kind of triggered me.
Listing off all my questions.
but that's we'll get into that later. But that's where it kind of came from, and that's where I just decided, right, okay, my visa's up. I'm gonna go home and do this because I haven't really given it a go, and that's what I mean about not giving it a go in college.
Yeah.
That was where I was like, I need to give this a go because if I don't, I'm not gonna know.
It's,
you know?
It's mad because I look at it now and I don't believe in like fate and all that shit, but I think knowing the characters you're with now and the situations they were all in at the time, like obviously the guys don't know the band yet, but like Johnny wasn't ready to go into a band 4 years ago. Jake was in a band, but with like other people. Jordan was in other gigs. None of them were available at the time. The opportunity wasn't there. And now looking at it, you probably wouldn't be in this band if you started it before with these guys. You probably would have made something work with your lads from college. So it's mad how that works. And I think you almost have a bigger appreciation for the whole process now because you almost didn't like
absolutely
not dive into it. You know what
absolutely.
I mean?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I was only having this conversation with my mom the other day that I don't think I would have been ready to, even myself. Like I talk about the whole college thing. I don't even think when I was in college I would have been ready for this.
Yeah.
I think one, I underestimated the amount of work that goes into it.
For fucking sure.
And that if crazy. Like actually pursuing it, if you really want to go for it, I wouldn't have been mature enough to understand how much work goes into it. And as well, as you say, this is another thing I was talking to her about, was just like making decisions. Like if I'd come home from Canada and I'd just gone off to Australia with a few of the lads, I wouldn't have even met Jake. I wouldn't have even been in a band. I knew Johnny and Jordan obviously, but like as distant friends, like I wouldn't have been in a band with them. So none of this would have actually happened. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that's crazy. And I think that's what you mean about like the appreciation for it is like, I have such an appreciation for it. Like I love it so much. And it's almost like I've gone through this trial and error process, which we'll touch on obviously later, but with other people, but that's where it's at a point now, although it's only beginning, it's so great. Yeah. And I love it so much. And something that I've never had before is where we all want it the same. Yeah. Do you know?
So this is, if you want to get even weirder with it in terms of fate, I wouldn't have been involved. Probably. I probably would still be, I would have been in Canada at that time, but like we wouldn't be like affiliated before because you needed to be in Canada for us to start talking about it.
I know. Yeah.
And, if COVID hadn't happened, you probably wouldn't have such a polished like product because you would have taken it to like a live gig way sooner. Yeah. And who knows where we'd be now? You wouldn't have as much time to strategize.
Yeah. Well, they're all what ifs at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, look, we're doing what we're doing. So I guess chat a little bit about people don't know. So you're home from Canada and you get like a Facebook message from a Jacob McGuinness. And what did that say?
Yeah, that's the thing is, I came back in May 2019, and obviously I'd had the plan to do it. Like that was the reason I came back, but I'd actually already messaged people that I was in college with. Yeah, and I had like, let's say, if you want to say 4 or 5 people to play with, like a band or whatever, and then rehearsed with them a few times during the summer, but it never felt like a collective. Yeah, it felt like they were just kind of there to play with me, and I was directing everything, and it didn't really feel like
didn't feel cohesive at all.
Yeah, no, not at all. Like it was almost like they were just doing it because I was asking them to do it. It wasn't because they wanted to do it. Yeah. And then, you know, over the summer, people are away at different times, and then some of them dropped out, and then I was kind of just like messaging people online that I might know who weren't in projects and stuff like that.
Strangers. Be in my band.
Yeah. Do you play an instrument? Yeah. So it's just messaging people, and then people were like, "Oh yeah, no, it sounds great," and then people would bail before even meeting up.
Yeah. Oh, and man, that would drive me up the... This is literally why I asked you if you would go solo, because me having such a love for something and being like, all right, grand, like, well, do you want to do this? And they're like, yeah, man, yeah, let's do it. And then you come into it and you're giving it your all, and like there's 3 other lads giving it 30% and missing stuff. And you can't do it without the other parts. Do you know what I mean? You can't just like rehearse without your drummer and like lead guitar.
But it's the whole thing of like, you know, you'll say you'll do something, but like, are you actually going to do it? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's committing to something. Do you know? So that, to be honest, that did start really getting annoying, because it just felt like it wasn't going to happen. And this is the timeline of this is May 2019 to essentially when Jake messaged me, which I'll obviously touch on in a second, but that just kind of was happening over that time period. Yeah. And then I was kind of like, oh, fuck this. Like I was like, right, will I just do it on my own then? Like, will I? And then I was even messaging people like that I'd played with before, being like, I'll pay you to even come and do it.
Be a band.
Yeah, like, because I still had the desire to do it, but it just felt like nothing was going in my favor. Yeah. And it was just getting frustrating. And then then yeah, so incidentally about the Jake thing, we were only talking about this the other day. So he actually messaged me, and I ignored his message.
Nice. I can see why.
I ignored his message because I don't think I ignored it, but I replied to it and I turned him down because I was like, oh man, I have 2 guitarists already, and I was like, oh, but if someone drops out, I'll let you know. And then incidentally someone did drop out who I'd never even met before.
Yeah, I remember you talking about this.
Yeah, and then he was like, oh, I don't even know what page, because I was putting up loads of adverts.
Yeah,
I don't even know what page he saw me on, but anyway, he messaged me and then he was like, oh, are you looking for a guitarist? And I was like, and then I went back to him and I was like, yeah, I actually am. And then I sent him on a demo of Simple Things.
Yeah.
With like a rehearsal demo with another group of people.
He heard the
yeah.
He was like, oh, yeah.
Well, he loved it. I sent him on that and I sent him on another tune and he loved it. And then we met up and then we were playing with a couple of other different people who incidentally bailed.
Yeah.
Obviously because they're not part of it now. But
such a big part of the story is just people dropping it out.
This is really what this is about.
Oh, these lads really want it. Fuck this.
Yeah. So that was how that happened. And then we met up and it clicked and because there was no band.
Oh, you see, you're pissing me off now because my next question was, what was the moment where you felt things literally I wrote clicked? I wrote clicked. So
it's all ebb and flow, man.
I saw you. Obviously, I've been involved in this. I've made about fucking 6 videos for you lads, and you've only posted 1 just because we've gone through so much shit.
2.
No, I'm joking. But when I saw Rebel Child live in the room with all yous, I was like, fucking. And when Johnny came for that time, I was like, whoa.
Oh yeah, the proper live.
I was like, oh shit. I was like, these lads can fucking shred a little.
Yeah.
And then the live stream that, when this has come out, people will have seen and is live on your channel, which if we made it, myself and the lads made, and it is by far probably the best piece of work I've made, not like in a braggadocious way, but in a everything just worked and the lads put
just
on
a quality kind
put
of
a
way.
Full set together and it's their full set. If you want to learn about the band, there's an interview on it. The whole thing from top to bottom is pretty fucking impressive. But when you did that just off the cuff, here we go boys, through the curtain, just shred it out. And it was so polished that I was like, that for me, I was like, okay, there's fucking something here. So, but you probably in practice, you were probably like, there was a point where you're like, this is it.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose like the kind of the key time was when, because I only found this out recently, but Jake was going to bail because there was no band. There really was no band.
It was you and him.
It was me and him, and there was another guy, Kieran, who I haven't even heard from since then. But
Kieran's fucking raging now.
Yeah, I'd say. But he just like didn't show up, and then I thought that looked really bad on Jake. So I was like, he's coming. He's never even met me before, and there's a guy that I'm saying is coming who hasn't even shown up.
Yeah,
and that happened 2 or 3 times.
Yeah,
and we didn't even have a drummer.
Yeah,
so there was no band. Like there wasn't anything.
It was,
and then
it was a musical project,
so we had a couple of rehearsals, and then COVID hit, and then we didn't really rehearse, and then I was looking for people in the midst of that.
Yeah.
And then I messaged Jordan because I know Jordan from like 6 or 7 years ago. I've known him for ages.
From the pints.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Jordan loves pints.
Yeah, we all do. We all do.
I slapped bass.
So then, and I messaged him, and I actually wasn't sure if he was even in a project or not. And then I just messaged him, and he was, because I always knew he was into the same music as me.
Yeah.
So I knew that he would be interested.
Yeah.
And
it's so important. I don't know.
Oh, it is, yeah.
I took a lot of this for granted because I come in at like different points, and you're all just it's just better and better. But that must be like, knowing all your personalities, you must all be like, man, I want to fucking. Your music complements everyone in very nice ways. Do you know what I mean? The drumming, like the drum lines are so nice. There's lovely bass solos. The bass solos, even I'm trying to remember. Is it in Wandering Star when he has doom boom boom boom?
Oh no, it's in
Excuse.
Yeah, Wandering Star. Yeah, the breakdown part. Yeah.
It seems like you've really found a cohesive balance in your music.
Yes, yeah. So then obviously, then Johnny got involved, who because you went to school with him. But I've just kind of known him through that. Really, I've just known him distantly, I suppose. But he got involved because you showed him a demo that we had, and then he was really interested. I actually asked him like months and months and months before that, but way before COVID. But he was too busy. He was going to go traveling, or he was still playing hockey or something. And then he came and he said literally out straight, I think on the first rehearsal, and he was like, "Look, I don't know what my situation is."
He was worried about committing.
I don't think he was worried about committing. He didn't want to let us down.
Yeah.
So he said it from the outset and was just like, "Look,
that's
I'm not
so
really
Johnny."
Yeah. But he just didn't know that what his situation was, and I respected that so much.
Yeah.
Because I'd have people in the past who have just not said it and then just bailed.
Yeah.
And that's worse. It's
Yeah.
so much worse.
Yeah.
So he said it and I respected him for that. And then I think he was probably surprised by how much he enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And like,
that's so nice.
And I obviously knew how good he was. And I remember even telling Jake before he even came to rehearsal, I was like, man, he's class.
Yeah.
I was like, he's deadly.
Yeah.
So I knew how good he was. And I was hoping for exactly what happened.
Yeah.
That he would love it so much that he would want to stay.
Yeah, we should have
Because-
Johnny on the podcast. It changed my life.
Yeah. So there was a period, I'd say, for the first, let's say, I don't know, 6 rehearsals.
Yeah.
Where it's still so fresh.
Yeah.
Because like, as you said, like with, playing, like just being in a band and like having the same taste,
Yeah.
you're figuring all that stuff out as you're going.
And how to interact with each other.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you're figuring all that stuff as you go. So yeah, but when you're in I'm still figuring out parts. This is the first band that I've been in where it's been a band.
Yeah.
And like with that, obviously, like I think it's so easy to look from the outside and just look at a band and go, oh, they're class.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, I like their music.
Yeah.
But you don't, like, nobody sees what goes on
Yeah.
for months and months and even years before that. And like, I think where I was looking at it when I was younger, like the bands were always friends.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've never had the luxury of having.
Yeah.
So I think like we're all, well, and probably still are to an extent, but like a lot from the start, like a majority of it from the start was figuring that out as we were going.
Yeah.
And obviously it helped because I kind of knew Johnny and I knew Jordan. So I kind of knew their personalities a bit, but it's totally different when you get into a working environment. It's totally different.
If I can say quickly, I think I've like, it's such crack. It almost feels, sounds bad. My dad will be so mad at me saying this. It almost feels hard charging sometimes because like going up to shoot the live stream on like a Sunday up in like the Camelot studios, you're like, oh man, what a fucking day out. Like it's such good crack. And then you get there and it's just crack. Do you know what I mean? It's not work at all. It's literally, and so it's even more surprising when we get such a like polished product at the end. Because it's really not like, it's not fucking around, but we take our shit really seriously. But it's definitely a fun environment.
But that's because you're putting all the work in beforehand. Yeah. That feels the way that it is and is the way that it is because we've done our work and you've done your work.
Yeah.
So then when you're doing it, okay, it is work, but that's why it's so enjoyable. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
So well, we'll get to the live stream because for me, I think when that comes out, I think now seeing what a real project would be or a real like live performance would be, I think it's a big moment. But for you personally, did it feel like performing the songs back to back like that? Was there a little feeling in you being like, oh yeah, this is it probably?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, like performing it because like obviously we had the setup and everything, and like.
Did I press record on this thing? I did,
yeah, flicker back there.
Hello.
But yeah, no, of course it did because obviously we had the setup and we had like David on sound and we had like your lights. Yeah, absolutely. But we had your lights and your cameras and everything, and you knew exactly what you were doing. But see, we've been rehearsing like that for so long now. Yeah, like we set up our rehearsals exactly the way we do on stage now. Yeah, like it's where. I'm in the front, Jake's to my left, Jordan's to the right, and Johnny's behind me.
If it's very, do
you know what I mean? So to us, like the only change was the performative element of it. Was the, like doing it as one, like we've done it as one take so many times in rehearsals. Yeah. And that's realistically why it looks the way that it looks is because of that.
But I guess the things that I pick up on now that people might have seen when they watched it, the performance element that you were talking about, like you all feeling like very loose, Jordan and Jake kind of meeting in the middle in front of the drums and stuff. I think you guys have it so tight that you're able to focus on actually performing it, which is so much better. Yeah. I was even watching it when I'm editing it together. It's so tight. Everyone's like reactions are sort of even fucking, you'll see like some of Johnny's fills and like those kind of the intricate, like, and when we were talking to Kev outside, Kev, our roommate who makes a lot of features on this pod. When he watched it, he was like, every song that I listened to is completely different at the end than it was at the start. So it's such a journey through all the tunes, and even like people listen to Wandering Star and you hear at the start, you're like, oh, I love like ballad, there it is, and then you're like, you've no idea there's this like switch up like rock beat that drops in. So for me, I think people are going to get so much out of like seeing you guys live. So are you excited for that to drop? Actually, it's dropped now. So.
Yeah. Well, so but just going back on the performing element, is that like you're able to like the freedom that you can see comes from knowing it so well. It's muscle memory. Yeah. So like you can't just like, you can't do that unless you know it as well as you do. Yeah. And that's where all the rehearsals come into play. And that's what I mean about like, that's why when you go to film it or when we go to do it, it is that enjoyable because we put so much work into it.
There's no nerves.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, like it's a different because there's cameras on you, but you just forget about that. You just do what you're always doing, and that's why I think it looks so natural.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's obviously as we spoke about in the interview in the actual live set in between the songs, when you asked us what can people expect from it, it's hard to answer because we're doing it a totally different way, like a way that's never been done before, where, we're putting out a set before anybody's even seen us live. I mean, I hope it does give off the impression of what we are like live, because that's exactly what you want. You want people to look at it and go, I'd love to go and see them.
You're taking the mystery out of it. There's going to be no mystery of being like, no one can say, I don't know what to expect, at least musically now, because you've given people like a look behind the curtain as it was.
Well, exactly. And that's the thing about the single. I mean, the single's done really well and we're all delighted with it. And I think it sounds great, but like, you don't want to be a studio band. Yeah. You don't want to be a band that's class in the studio and you can't replicate it live. You actually
probably want to be, if anything, the opposite. You want to over expectations at the live.
But that's what music was like back in the day. There was no studio. Music has shifted so much in the modern era that that's where people showcase their material and then people will go and listen to them. Yeah. You'd see them live and then go and listen to them, and that's where if you look at like studio recordings and bands in studio, people have become so accustomed to studio sound.
Highest quality. Everyone's listening to like Beats by Dre, like flawless.
People have become so accustomed to studio sound that then when they see a band live, they go, oh, that doesn't sound the same. Yeah. It's not going to sound the same. It's live.
For me, when I hear like, I get to be in studio and when I hear like when it's so loud, the bass is so loud and the drums so loud, you can feel it in your chest. Like those kind of that gets me going. And like the like tweak of the mics and stuff. I think when that, like you guys come out at the first drop, I'm like, you hit the fucking change to symmetry. I'm gonna be like, this shit's crazy. But there was one moment when we were filming that Simple Things came on the radio. You heard it was gonna be on RTE, and it was a very nice moment. It's beautifully picked up by myself, where you're like, everyone gets kind of quiet, but you in particular just kind of look down. You're just like smiling, listening to it. Is that like a moment that you thought about when you were younger that you want to hear your song on the radio? So is that like a moment you've had to take in? It's kind of all rushed around very quickly, but you have to sit back to take a second to be like, fuck, my music's on the radio. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, like I don't think, like, it's not this fairy tale thing where like when I was 13 I was like, oh god, one day I want to be on the radio. I think it was more like Bono.
yeah. No, I think it was more that kind of, I think it's more like, as you say, it happens all so fast, but I think it's one of those things where the way that you're asking it and the way that it probably looks to what you're alluding to is that it did feel like this moment where all of this work and all this shit that had happened in the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, like
my life,
but my adult life, I suppose, but all of that, like, it kind of gets to that. That's the point where I was like, this has happened like because I wanted it to happen, and I've actually willed it into existence. I've powered through, and I've like. To hear my own band and my own song, something that I wrote in my room 6 years ago. Yep. That realistically could have just stayed like that. It could have sat there.
Stayed in your notebook.
Yeah, it could have just stayed like that. So I think it was a real it was just a realization, and you can probably see it in my face, but it was in the interview. But it was such a nice feeling. Yeah, it's just, and that's what I mean. Like, you can't. It's like anything though. You can't. There's no substitute for hard work. Yeah, at all. And that's what it feels like. It's such an amazing feeling, and to think that it's only the beginning is actually the more exciting part. Do you know what I mean? There's so much more of that to come.
Well, I get very excited. I was, even when we were on the to be able to have the comparison to, because we shot the Simple Things music video, especially me and you, the first bit where we had to shoot in Pigeon House. Yeah. To be able to be like, oh no, our first one, like, we had to fucking scale a gaze to get in, and like John had a fucking panic attack at the top, and then we're like scaling around, and like this fucking lad that we met online gives the fucking performance of his life in this random derelict building. Yeah. So like I think for us having such a like modest start and over exceeding our expectations purely through organization and just a fucking strong work ethic, I guess taking that forward, what would you consider like success for the band? What do you picture that as?
I mean,
tough one to ask. Yeah, but I think it's nice to have, like you had originally, like looking back at the your song being on the radio. It's a nice milestone to hit, to just almost just regulate progression and just see progression. So like, do you like, what would you picture like your life going forward as a band? Would you like, would touring like modestly, or do you guys like, do you see it being this huge thing where you can't go outside kind of buzz? What would you like it somewhere in between?
I don't know. I mean, like, I wouldn't measure that in success. Like, that's not success to me. Like, it's not. I mean, and I don't. Like an album. And I don't think anybody that's striving for that is striving after the wrong thing. Yeah. Like, that's not what you should be striving for, in my opinion, anyway. But I think like success. I mean, like, look, like, success means different things to different people. Success means having a house. Success means, you know, earning loads of money. Success means, you know what I mean? I think there's like, your income doesn't necessarily have to be your passion in a way. Do you know what I mean?
If I can clarify like what I mean, for me, winning is the fact that I can make videos for a living. This is what I do for a living. Whatever living that is. Yeah. Every day I get to go out and like do what I want for the day. My passion is how I make money. So for me, if I was you, I can't tell you what it is, and obviously the music industry is just such a different industry. But if you imagine every day was like Camelot, and all day you guys were like writing or performing.
Oh, that's the dream, man.
That's what I mean.
That's the absolute dream.
So it doesn't need to be. I think some people are like, oh, unless you go and tour America and do stadiums, you haven't made it. It's this whole
made it.
This is what I mean. I think it's important that you clarify, not that you clarify, but that people have a clarification in their head of what.
But I think
that peak is.
But I think so. Like, to me, there is no limit.
Yeah.
And I think you have to have that mindset if you want to succeed, and that goes for anything. That doesn't just go for music. That goes for anything. But I think success to me is something that you feel proud of. Yeah. And nobody can take that away from you. If you think that you're successful in whatever it is, nobody can tell you any differently, because they aren't inside your head. They aren't inside your psyche or whatever. So I think success is something that I'm proud of. I mean, I could say that like that's a success. Yeah. Like, simple things is a success. Yeah. But having the band at all is a success.
Little victories.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and it's all about these kind of like timing things, about meeting the band and not going away again and stuff like that. Like, all of these are little bits of success. Yeah. And you have to keep going and going and going. So
just trust it almost.
Like, obviously I want to do more tunes. I want to do more singles. I want to gig. I want to do an album. I want to, whether it's gigging it, whether the extent is just gigging in Ireland, or whether it's the UK, Europe, America, whatever.
Imagine you could quit your day job.
Well, exactly. That is the dream. That's the dream. But
if all of you lads don't have to work anywhere else, and your full-time job is don't tell mom.
Oh, stop, man.
But that's what I'm. Already. I like it sounds.
It's not implausible.
No, it's not implausible. What do you mean? You fucking let me tell you for a fact there are shitter bands. Yeah, do you know what I mean? So I like it's especially in this market now. Like, if you can get on if you get a name as like a strong touring band and like people love your shows, your product is so polished already that everyone who's recruiting, like any label, anyone who runs a festival can go like, man, these lads just plug it straight in. Like, there's no real, they don't have 3 songs and then do a load of covers. They have a full set. It's already done. They already have all their production. They know their shit. Let's just bang them in. Yeah. And you lads will just be ready to just smoke it every time. Yeah. So
I think as well, like, as I said, different people have different ideas on what they think success is, but like, people are going to talk. People are, and like music is one of probably the main thing in life that people will be so easy to criticize. Oh yeah. And like, and look, you have to accept the fact that it's going to be the case. You don't get into the industry if you can't hack that. Yep. But that realistically doesn't matter. It realistically doesn't matter what other people think. You should do it for you and do it because you want to do it. Yeah. So like, I mean, essentially I think success is just something that you should feel proud of. I don't think success is measured in a monetary value or in material items or anything like that. I think that's a very ill-sighted and like almost pessimistic way of looking at things. Yeah. So I think it just depends on what way you look at it, I suppose. But I mean, as I said, little victories along the way, and you just need to be grateful for that. Yeah. And keep wanting to do it more. Do you know?
So we obviously can't have the other lads here today, but I think it's important, as you've kind of pointed out, it's not the John McCabe show.
Not at all.
Far from it. It's very much a collaborative project, and
wouldn't be a project without them.
Exactly. So I think I had one of the questions was just to introduce these to lads quickly in terms of what instruments they play and a little bit about them, just so the lads know. Hopefully everyone who watches this is either has seen the live stream or goes and watches, so you'll learn a lot more about the lads. Yeah. But John can intro them quickly and maybe and just what instruments they play and stuff.
Yeah. So this is obviously myself on vocals and guitar, and then Jake is lead guitar, Jordan is bass, and then Johnny is drums.
Union J. All
Yeah,
J's.
yeah, the 4 J's. Yeah, no, it's that is. I still think that's mad.
That's
it's
fucking
so
stupid.
It's so unusual.
It's
man.
so frustrating when I went
It's so
in.
unusual, and I don't know. I mentioned it to a few people. And they're like, "Jeez, I didn't even know that." But yeah, it's a bit weird. But it's cool though. But but yeah. So, what do you mean? Just talk a bit about them themselves.
No, I think that's fine. I think the lads, it'll be hard. Hopefully, the plan is, obviously I didn't tell you this. Plan is when things go well, I get to do like I'll get all the boys in and we'll do like a group one.
Yeah.
But the obvious question, something that came from me when I was filming you guys for the interview, that couch that was there, the couch shot we did where you were all there.
Yeah.
I said for you all to go sit down. You very naturally fit into this kind of like, you all sat and you're like slouching on one side. Jordan's like leaning over the top. It's very natural. Everything's very natural. So I notice all these things. It's my job to like notice all this, and it's all very comfortable. And I guess when I saw the full run there, the next thing I thought was like, surely there's an album on like the horizon, or thoughts of an album on the horizon. You seem to have like a piece of, you seem to have a run of music there that's all there. Has that
that's probably like, and like I've got a bucket load of songs there. Like whether the lads want to do them or not is totally up to them. As we both mentioned, it's a collaborative project. It's not just, okay, we're gonna do my songs or we're gonna do some of Jake's songs or whatever. It's if the lads want to do them, it's to benefit the band. Yeah. It's not just me wanting to do my songs or whatever. So, but yeah, I think it's we all have different personalities. Yeah. And I think that works. And we all have different views on things. And I think that's great. And I think that's what really makes us gel as well. Yeah. And I think friction's
important as well.
It's exactly. But there's a respect in the band.
For sure.
Do you know, there's not, someone has more say than another. Yeah. And everybody pulls their weight in an equal way. And that's something that, again, goes back to, that's something that I've never had before. Yeah. And I've always wanted that, because I have a respect for other people and for them. Yeah. So there is a kind of equal distribution of respect and also what we bring to the table.
That's probably a testament to you all having been in previous projects that you all, like, in obviously some elements you didn't enjoy. So when you come to this one together, it almost feels like, I think as soon as you guys realize this is something important and you guys are something special, it's less about, okay, I'm going to find something else, and more about, we need to figure out, like, we're going to be working together, so let's figure out all the things.
But it's all part of the process though. Exactly, like, I mean, Jake was in bands for 10 years or something. He was in a band, and he had like some success with them, and Jordan's been in not a load of bands, but a good few bands who just didn't work out for whatever reason, and Johnny's never been in a band. Yeah. Do you know? So like, and me having had pretty much no luck with people beforehand. So we've all come from different backgrounds, and I think that is quite important. Yeah. And that almost makes things work in a way. Yeah. And also, like, we all obviously value what we bring. Like, I think Jake's a great guitarist. I don't even think Johnny has half a clue about how good he is. That's for sure. I don't think he even has a notion about how good he is. He's probably the most humble person I've ever met.
He comes up to me, he's like, I'm not sure about doing it live. I'll be nervous. I was like, man, you're going. He keeps joking about
getting sick before a gig, but like,
I can't. Like,
he'd be grand, man. He'd be grand. You'll have a vodka, nagging and vodka chaser.
I think that moment. I think that first live gig is going to be fucking the goosebumps and shit going up, and then it's all your mates. We won't get into it, but that's
and Jordan's a great bass player. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think like I've only in the last, I'd say maybe a couple of years, pretty much since I've come back from Canada, I've really only placed value. Again, having a conversation with someone about this today, but I've started actually I think this comes with maturity, but started placing value on my own ability. Yep. Like, I've always been really, really critical of myself, and it's good to be self-critical. Yeah. But I've always been overly critical. Yeah. And not really valued. And I think that's maybe why I didn't pursue it as much in college. Yeah. Because I didn't really feel like I was good enough.
It's tough. It's tough to accept that, or like to almost be like, all right, I'm going for it. It's tough to believe in yourself like that.
Yeah. And I think having belief in whatever it is, whether it's your camera work or what you're doing, or anything else like acting or anything. Like 80% of it is how much you believe in it. Yeah. And I think that I've only started really coming around to that in the last couple of years, and being like, okay, no, don't be so modest about it. Just like, you're good at this. Yeah. So use it.
It's not an arrogance. It's a confidence.
That's what I think. Yeah. And I think that's a very Irish thing, where it's like, Oh, he thinks he's deadly.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not, no, it's just like, I just like,
this is very,
do you know,
it's very funny you said that. I was on a shoot in Tipperary this week for the brand I work with.
Yeah.
And the guy there that I was shooting with is like 19. He's like a YouTuber. He does like fitness YouTube and all. And he like, it's his full-time job now. And he was like, he dresses like an American. He wears like cargo pants and like cut mad shirts. Not a cool fucker. Yeah. But he was like, oh man, down in Limerick, he was like, when I started putting out videos, he was like, oh, I got crucified. He was like, everyone's like, oh, you think you're fucking famous and all that. So it's mad.
Yeah.
I think you're
small
fortunate.
town mentality though. That's
I think you're fortunate in the sense that your shit's too good for if someone come to you and was like, you're a band cheap, like, mate, honestly, like you.
But at the same time though, I wouldn't like, who am I to tell them if they think I'm shit?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's all that it is. It's all it is their opinion.
Yeah.
I that like one person going, you're shit is not going to make.
Well, that's it then. I'm done.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's it.
It's not going to make me change how I feel about it.
That's it, boys. Wrap it up. I'm done.
Pack it in.
Fuck this.
But it's not going to change how I feel about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, I think everybody has their doubts about their own ability and what they do, but like none of us, the four of us in the band, would have pursued it or kept going if we didn't want to do it and we didn't think we were good enough at it. So
for you, so this is kind of, I can't ask the other lads' impressions of this, but the music industry in general has taken more than a few souls. Do you know what I mean? It's a tough old gig, and I've no illusions that it's not a fucking grind and touring every day and that kind of lifestyle. If you're up for it and the fucking booze and then like on the bus and grinding, if you're up for it, it's your passion. That it's paradise. But I guess knowing you, I think you've been gearing up for that lifestyle either way. I think you're built for. I think you're ready to like tour, and that's your goal there. But do you think you as a band, will be able to handle, like, if it gets to that point, like the whole traveling point, like being a full band on tour?
Well, you have to make sure that you're not losing sight of why you're doing it.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can't let. I mean, there's this whole kind of like, idea behind like, oh, it's all like party and sex and drugs and drinking every night and everything. But like, if you're sacrificing your performance for that, like that you can't do
Madness,
that. You can't do that. And I think like, okay, it's gonna be really, really fun. It's gonna be great crack. It already is great crack.
It will only be good crack for you if you lads have smoked and I know you lads before. You lads are gonna be shitting yourselves before and being like, lads, let's go out and fucking drill it. It's not gonna be like, let's go get a few pints before. It's gonna be, lads, let's go out and smoke this and then after.
I wouldn't drink before a gig, but I think like you can't fuck it up for yourself. You can't, like, because that you'll just hate it if you do that. If you jeopardize your own opportunity, that's it. Like you're like, that's that. To me, that's not like it. It's work and then it's enjoyment. Like, do you know what I mean? You have to put the work in and do it first, and then reap whatever rewards are there.
You've had 9 months of like. This is why, again, I think the COVID period's been. I know it's fucked it in so many ways, but it's almost been beneficial because you've been forced to like polish up your product so much that now you'll be able to enjoy it a little bit when you get to it, because you've gotten yourselves to a point where like it is second nature when you're performing. So I'm very excited for that period. Is there like a couple of dream venues for you in Dublin and then abroad that you've always thought about playing?
Like obviously I'd love to play. I mean, I'd love to just even play Whelan's. I think Whelan's has just got such a culture and a history behind it. I really love it, man. That's all part of it. Like
shirt off.
Whelan's definitely. Olympia 100%. I've been to plenty of gigs in both. Vicar Street and the Three Arena. Like they're the four that I'd love to do.
Vicar Street be fucking unreal.
And then I mean, outdoor gigs, you're talking festivals and Ivy Gardens and the Marquee of Cork and everything. But I think beyond that, like I wouldn't look at like places in the UK or like place in Europe where I'm like, oh man, I've dreamed of playing there, because I like
the Skåneskrogen in Sweden,
exactly, like the Amsterdam Arena, the Heineken Arena in Amsterdam. Like I've never dreamt of playing.
We'll go.
Yeah. If they'll have us. But yeah, I mean those four venues in Ireland definitely: Whelan's, Olympia, Vicar Street, and Three Arena definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's like, if it gets there, then happy days. Like I mean that's really what we should be striving for.
In terms of labels and in terms of that whole process, you guys obviously have a very clear idea. I'm fucking clueless when it comes to this whole process and the music making process.
Yeah.
What is your ambition if you were to sign with the label, or if you no intention of signing with the label? But what would your expectations be signing with someone? What would you want to get out of that? Do you know?
Well, I think, but see, like music has changed so much in the last like 15 to 20 years that so many bands don't even need labels anymore.
Yeah.
You can do so much of your own marketing and PR and publishing that you don't necessarily need a label.
Currently,
and also, like, people think there's either like you sign with a label or you don't. Like, even with a label, there's like up to like 10 different deals that you can even do with a label, and that stems from like 0 to 100% on how much power you're giving them, on how much they kind of like will put, like, if you're
influence almost.
You're basically like, so the more control they have over you, the more they own what you have.
Yeah.
So the less they'll basically, and they'll pump a shitload of money at you.
Yeah. And you'll kind of go, holy shit.
Yeah, like they don't really do this anymore as much, but labels would give a band like an advance of like 250 grand.
Yeah.
And then what they've made in the studio flops. Yeah. And then the band are liable to pay that back.
Yeah, and you're in fucking
and then you're fucked.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really happen as much anymore, but like I just don't think it's not as prominent as it used to be. It's not as important, and that has come with the advancement of like streaming over physical sales. Yeah. Because there's just not as much money in it anymore.
So what would someone need to offer you guys as a band? I'm not saying like, look, we're not in that situation now. But what would you want a label to come to you and say for you to be like, guys, I think this is great? What would they need to be saying to you for you to be like, they seem to be talking all the things that we want to hear? Is it like, we're happy to give you creative control over the product? Look, come in and record your songs. We'll provide the area for you. We just want a piece of the pie when it's made. You know I don't think I'd let a label take over creative control. Yeah. I don't think that's the one thing that I always said I would never let happen, because that can go down a very slippery road. If in my head, if I fuck it up, let me fuck it up, but I'm not going to have some studio fuck it for me, because they don't really... It's a bit of an impossible question to answer, because like you don't know the terms of what you're being offered until it's in front of you. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I think like do what you're doing. Like the amount of artists that are unsigned who are unbelievably famous at the moment. Yeah. So I mean, there's more music now than there ever has been. Yeah. You know what I mean? And there's more fusions of genres than there ever has been and stuff like that, and that's great. Yeah. But I think more people listen to music. Exactly. Well, yeah. The way people have, like, people thought when CDs came out that was it. Yeah. Like that was music consumption, and that was done. Yeah. And then streaming came out. It just changed. And it just completely how people make money. Yeah. And it's literally no, like people don't buy CDs really anymore. Like you look at all the fucking music shops that are gone into liquidation. I found a Dead Mouse CD in my car like it. I was like, oh, I don't even have a CD player. Raise your weapon. But you know, what was I saying? Yeah, like I mean, all the music shops have gone into liquidation. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like HMV and Golden Discs and all these places, because they're just not making any money anymore. So I don't know. I mean, to be honest, like as I said, it's a bit of a hard question to answer. I think we just have to keep rolling with it, and keep doing what we're doing, and not focus on that part of it too much. Yeah. And just keep doing it for the reason that we want to do it. Yeah. Which is obviously just to put out music and because we love doing it. So I guess in for our final third, I kind of want to get into more bands out there now. So of the bands that have come from Ireland or even from the UK, is there any bands you look at and you like to emulate in terms of like performance and like sound, or the way they put their albums together, stuff like that? Well, I think there's a lot of music coming out of Ireland at the moment, which is great. Like I think bands like The Academic and Inhaler, and bands like that. Yeah, I think they're doing really, really well. I think Inhaler's sound is great. I mean, there's just so many bands coming out at the moment. Yeah. I mean, and it's great, but I think it's also important to find your own sound as well. I mean, you need to kind of you need to find what's your USP. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I think that's really important. Yeah. Well, yeah. Hopefully so. I mean, the thing is, it's constantly going to progress and develop. Well, see, so an interesting thing that's happened is you've written the first round of music, or the majority of the first round of music. So you've said that, let's say the first album you do is a collection of some of the stuff you've done on the live stream and maybe a couple other tunes. Then the next stage would be you guys writing something as a group. Yeah, well, I mean, it's an interesting point, because I've got about, I'd say 50 to 60 songs, and I'd say probably about 20 to 30 of them I would happily release. Yeah, like 100%. Fuck. So, like, I've got all of those there, and this is what I was saying earlier about, like, it doesn't even necessarily mean we have to use any of them. Yeah. But I mean, we're in a particularly strong position where we have material there Yeah.
Like we just have it there.
In terms of ready, you mean you have like a guitar? Like
No. I don't mean arranged. I just mean written, like chords, melody, and lyrics.
That's what I mean. So when it comes into you guys as a group, there's still the opportunity for all the lads to add their own flair to
exactly.
it.
Yeah. No, none of them are arranged. I mean, yeah, I have ideas for some of them, but none of them are like fully arranged. So, like the core of it is there. Like melodies are there, lyrics are there, and chords are there. And then Jake writes instrumentals and things like that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the Who'd Have Known and Wandering Star are 2 instrumentals that he had.
Yeah.
And he sent them to
sick.
me, and then I wrote melody and lyrics over them.
Yeah.
So, and I know he has a load of other stuff there as well. So writing as a band is something that we haven't done yet. Like when I say writing as a band, I mean like completely from scratch.
I think it'd be so interesting. So I'm fascinated with like, particularly, I didn't think this is actually where I was going to go. It's so interesting, but now the idea of
what do you mean with music?
I didn't think me making like music
videos,
content around music would be so interesting. But for me, it's as interesting the behind the scenes shit of the live stream and all that stuff. I think just documenting, like, imagine like Whelan's behind the scenes, like the document of that process. I find that all very fascinating. So I guess
just because you like music as well. At the same time,
yeah.
You know
I
mean?
know the lads and the tunes are quality. So and it's a good story, man.
Yeah.
And like it would be it'd be so great to get on the forefront of something. But I guess what would be great is you guys tour like on the first album, and then you guys go off into like go away and lock the doors and fucking put something together. I think that'd be fucking quality.
Well, I think but the thing with the writing thing is like we haven't done it together, but we're not gonna know. Like we're not gonna know how that goes until we do it. We do have plans to write that way 100%. But again, as I said earlier, it has to be for the benefit of the band. Yeah. If the songs aren't, if we write together as a 4 and literally write it from scratch, and it's not as good as what we've got, then there's no point in having it. It's not to say, oh, you're not as good at this, or you're this, like you can't do this. Whatever. It's not that. It's just you have to just be professional about it and go, this actually isn't as good as what we've got. Yeah. So there was no point in doing it.
I look at it.
So I think so what I was going to say was I think like that's totally just experimentation. Yeah. Because like I'm obviously a writer naturally. Yeah. And I'm always going to be able to write lyrics and melody and chords. Yeah. So like,
but it's a team. You guys, if you look at it as you guys are a team.
Yeah, and exactly, and absolutely, and some of the tunes that we have, like Wandering Star and Who'd Have Known, were originally instrumentals from Jake, and then I wrote melody and lyrics over them. But the other 4, Symmetry and City of Lost Voices and Be the Animal and Simple Things, they're all my own compositions. Yeah. But I mean, they're equally the band. They're equally the bands now as well. But those tunes, some of those tunes have changed a lot. Yeah. Since like. So that's like the first half of City of Lost Voices is the way it was written, and then it's completely flipped on its head.
So that's what I mean.
So yeah, so that in a sense, like I've obviously written the lyrics and changed the melody and stuff, but the ideas have come from them as well.
DTM'd it.
Yeah, the ideas have come from them. So in a sense, that is a composition as well. Exactly.
That's my 100%. Not my favorite part of the song, but my favorite, like the best element of it is like. You like even City of Lost Voices start like it's a beast, and then out of nowhere like
it starts like the master plan or something, and then it just goes into some madness.
Beast. Yeah. I think all that.
But that's great because I never like without being in a band, but without being with those lads, I never would have. You have to get that feedback. You have to get that second opinion of people, and I never would have thought of
solo. Imagine how fucked it would have been if you went solo and you'd be like City of Lost Voices, you'd be like City, and then like you never get a chance. Your first critique would be when you brought something out, really.
Yeah, but it's not even that there was anything wrong with it. It was just. They were like, okay, well, why don't we try this or change this
it's experimental.
And exactly. Yeah. So like that's in a sense writing as well. Do you know what I mean? That is writing as a band. It's just we didn't do it from scratch. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. And as I said, like we're in a particularly strong position. I know Jordan was saying a while ago that he was in bands before where they were writing music where they had the music and then the singer was kind of trying to figure out his own parts around the music. Yeah. And it was like the vocal was secondary to the music. Yeah. And I think that's like, I don't think you're going to get the best out of it if it's done that way. Yeah. So I think like it's better to have the material there than to struggle to have to write something and be under pressure to write something.
If for me, I think you look at it as you've made the point so well by saying you have an ability to put words together, melodies together. So be like, all right, there's a DTM as a team. John's going to put together like if John brings these melodies in, but then like if you didn't have the opportunity to flip up a City of Lost Voices the way you did. It's completely different songs. So
Exactly,
having that, bringing that in, and Johnny being like do do, and just like fucking
fills and
rocking
stuff,
it, and then like Jordan's like do do do.
And exactly, and that's where the whole collaborative process works. That's
great.
yeah.
But you probably get so much enjoyment out of that. It's like that's your like sparring or whatever when you're going. It's just
exactly, yeah. Well, I mean, that's like the process is almost it's almost as enjoyable as the end product.
Can you imagine how much work you're going to get done if you could do this full time and you were just playing up full time?
Exactly, yeah. But that, yeah, exactly. I know, yeah, it's crazy. But the process is as enjoyable as the end product. I mean, obviously what people are going to hear is the end product, and you'll only hear the end product when we're happy with it.
Yeah.
But you need to go through the process to get to that point.
Yeah.
So doing all these rehearsals, I mean, we've been playing together for a year now and doing one every week, if not 2 rehearsals a week.
Yeah.
And that they're 3 to 4 hours long at a time. So you can imagine how many trial and error moments are there, and then you think you settle on something and then you go, oh no, actually no, change this. I mean, you can kind of get to a point where you're never going to know something's done.
Yeah.
Like you'll kill yourself. You'll kill yourself if you keep thinking like that. But yeah, it's an interesting process, definitely.
How did you find the recording process? Like the actual being in
for the
studio?
single?
Yeah.
It was cool. It was interesting. I've been in a studio before, but not for my own music. I've done backing vocals for people before, and I've been in and around studios and stuff sometimes, but I've never done it where it's been solely my song or our song. But Stuart Gray, who recorded and mixed the track, he was like, I think Jake sort of knows him. But he was a huge help, man. He was so relaxed. He wasn't. He didn't make you feel anxious or anything.
Wasn't just a lad just running the desk.
Yeah, and like he knew we were a new band. He knew it was our first single. He knew some of us hadn't been in the studio before, but he was so chill. He was so cool, and he made it a really relaxed process. Yeah. And it was great because he knows exactly what he's doing, and the structure of the whole recording process was so clean, and so crisp, and it was just really enjoyable. And it's one of those things where when you do it, you just want to do it again and again and again. Yeah. You just can't wait to get back in.
So, it's kind of mad because I have 2 questions. Number 1, of the songs you performed on the stream, what ones are you really excited? 1, to perform live, and 2, which one do you think you think will sound great when it's been like recorded? Is the ones that stand out? They'll all sound great. They will all sound great, but I mean, like, there's some that I think will sound great on like. That would be just a great song. People just play on their speakers, but there's some that'll hit
like album tracks.
Yeah, exactly.
I think my favorite one to perform is "Be the Animal."
Yeah,
there's something. I was saying this to lads on the day. Like, there's just something about it. I've always loved that tune, even acoustically.
Yeah.
But I just love it. I love that there's so many different parts to it, and even the intro with the drums.
It's like a little roller coaster.
It kicks in straight from the off, and I think. I particularly enjoy playing it. I enjoy singing it the most out of all of them. I think it's just got a lot of attitude and energy, and it's one of those tunes I can picture it live so clearly. Yeah, it's got so much energy to fill a room.
Do you practice? It's so interesting because you have a unique style. I've filmed you a lot now live, and you have a unique style in the way that you perform. So I like it sounds interesting. No, but like everyone's fucking interesting. Everyone has someone. It's just if you stood there with your hands behind your back, I'd be like, fuck you, like you're not like Liam Gallagher. But you don't. You have like you and like it's fucking natural. That's the best.
Do you mean like
like even when you're grooving to like Be the Animal, when it's like loose, but when you're performing then as well, like you guys, it as a group, it all seems very polished. You seem very comfortable playing guitar and performing. It's for something that is quite new relatively as a band. The whole thing is so polished.
Well, it's funny that you say that because obviously I've always played acoustically and sang. Yeah. Like since I was obviously able to do both, which is like since I was like 16. But it's one thing playing a guitar sitting down in your room and singing. It's another thing standing up and playing with other people. Well, it's another thing standing up and playing and singing. It's another thing playing in front of people or doing it live, playing with other people. Yeah. So it's funny because I initially, when I started the band, I didn't even want to play guitar. Yeah. And this goes back to the whole like valuing what you do. I didn't think I was actually good enough to do it.
Really? Yeah. It's very interesting that people will be surprised with that, I'm sure.
And I still don't really to an extent, but I didn't think I was good enough to be an actual guitarist in a band. Like I don't think I would solely be a guitarist, but I initially wanted 2 guitarists and myself to be vocals.
Really?
Yeah, that was the initial idea. And then
what happened?
the reason, well, because people bailed, and then I remember saying, I was having a conversation with Jake, I think one of the lads bailed, I think it was a guy called Tom or something.
Fuck you, Tom.
He's actually a great guitarist, that's the problem.
Come back, Tom. Come back, Tom.
Yeah.
What do you mean to say?
But he bailed, and then Jake, it was actually Jake, and he was just like, well, why don't we just carry on anyway?
Yeah.
Because if there was one person that we were going to lose, it was a guitarist, because I could always just play guitar in the meantime, and then we just never got anybody else.
Yeah.
And
you'll get like your fucking
but,
work ethic. You'll get even if you weren't good enough at the time, you're gonna get good enough to do it.
But but that's what I mean about it. It's funny enough that you say that, because now I don't think I would get somebody else.
Yeah.
I think I enjoy doing it now. Like
I don't know what you do with your hands. Are you here? I genuinely think about this.
Well, but the only thing I would say is like you can put an awful lot more energy into a vocal performance without an instrument.
Yeah, so it's because some people, I'm sure, like you hear like Ed Sheeran and stuff, or like any of those lads, when they don't have the guitar, they feel like naked on stage.
I don't get that, because I have played before. I've played gigs before where I played like some with guitar, and then I've done like a couple of tunes without it.
Yeah, and
I don't really get that. Like, I understand what they mean, but
just bring someone in to do a couple of tunes so you can just get loose a little.
Maybe.
In the crowd,
well, the single that we're going to be putting out, not revealing too much. The single.
Don't point at my camera. Don't point at my camera.
The single that we're going to be bringing out. I'm not even playing guitar on that.
Is this the vibey one?
Yeah. I'm not playing guitar on that at all. But
what was the? Because the lads won't know this, but we recorded it on the live stream. We recorded one.
Hazy Infatuation.
Yeah,
the real punky one.
Yeah. That's there, Johnny. I have a sequence together of that tune. So
Jake actually sent me the audio the other day. It's not really mixed or anything, but
she sent me because I have it like in.
It sounds pretty good. But see, the reason why we did that is just because it's not actually finished.
Yeah, but it's just a chance to hear it.
But I was like, yeah, fuck it. Like, we're already here. We might as well just do a demo of it. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, no, it sounds great. That would be like another, like, it wouldn't be. I don't know if it would be a single. It's another live set kind of tune you could add to it. But yeah, no, I never really thought I was good enough to be a guitarist. So it's like it's kind of nice to hear you say that you think there's like something a bit unique about that, about the way I perform, because I wouldn't really see that. Do you know what I mean? It would be my inner critic coming out being like, oh, like, because I mean, like, you can kind like, you know, I kind of wanted to be that I'm doing focusing a bit more on the vocals. I think like know the way when it hits like excuse, I think I presumed like anyone, you probably practice like in your room, like the movement shit, because like, well, no, it's practicing rehearsals. Yeah, you know, but like you get into, because that's all part of the choreography of the song, because you'll hold your guitar every single time. Yeah. But it looks very. But I'd say the reason it looks, but again, as we were saying earlier, I'd say the reason it looks so natural is because we've done it so many times in rehearsals. I tell you if it looked weird, and it looks very comfortable. Yeah. Even though the fucking guitar like broke before we went to record the live stream, and I fucking chauffeured it around like that shit's crazy. But, you didn't answer my question in terms of like what was the question? No, the different one. In terms of a name for an album. But I won't ask for it now. You don't have to give it to me. But what I will ask. Don't tell your dad. Some album titles you like. No, man, I had the fucking funniest thing. If we ever got to do like a behind the scenes like series on a YouTube or something, it'd be like, we could do like we could do some joke on like don't tell mom, like don't tell your dad. Don't tell like your auntie's cousin's dog. Like don't tell mom. Actually, what was the thought about the name? People probably asked that. Why don't tell mum or DTM? I think DTM sounds great. But DTM. Some people actually said to me, they're like, "Why don't you call DTM?" Technically did. But it's a cool abbreviation. You can just use it. Like, why don't tell mum as a name? It was actually a conversation I had with an ex-girlfriend of mine. And it was just we were in a kitchen or something. I think one of us said it, and then I think she said it, and then I was like, "Oh, that's a great name for a band." Yeah. And then it just stuck, and it rolls off the tongue. Yeah. So that's only the reason where it came from. Because I was looking for a band name. Like the John McCabe project. Yeah, the JMC project. The unnamed John McCabe project. But there's not really an awful lot behind it. It just stuck, and then I did a logo with Jeff, and it looked really slick. I can say it. There's a couple of moments for me like that we've spoken about, like when we took the real photos, the press photos, the one against the white background where you're all like in Camelot when you're all smiling at each other, and we were like, that's a poster. That when I saw the way you spread out the DTM stuff, like the logo, the way Jeff did that, I was like, fuck, that looks so solid. And then the merch shit that Johnny made when he did those, I was like, fuck you, Johnny, they look good. They're like template merch. Yeah. So all that shit looked good, man. But I guess in terms of album names, is there some album names and albums that you particularly like, just in terms of the way they structured the names and stuff? Yeah, I think I like metaphorical ideas for albums.
Yeah.
Like I like that album by Standing on the Shoulder of Giants by Oasis, and loads of people think that's a metaphor for standing on the shoulder of the Beatles, but it's people will always talk. But I think it's a cool name.
Yeah,
it's a really cool name. I don't know. I think it's something you could look into as much as you want to look into it. I think, you know, it's like you can say that about a song. Like you can name songs about something that's not even a lyric. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think then it depends, like, are you going to do like a concept album where like there's an entire concept around that collection of songs, or is it just a random selection of songs and then you have an album title?
Yeah.
So it depends what way you want to look at it, and like it depends what kind of writer you are, and you know, all that sort of stuff. Like we wouldn't really discuss lyrics that much. I mean, that I would just do that and that's it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, they probably don't know half of what the songs are even about. Do you know what I mean?
Super deep guys.
Wrote
a song.
Yeah. But I mean, like that's whatever. It doesn't bother me either way. Like, you know. So I don't know. I mean, album wise, I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into an album.
It's like for me anyway. Like this is, I guess this is why this podcast is so important, because people look at it and they'll see the stream and be like, just record an album. You already have all the music.
Yeah. A few of my mates, man, have said that. I just be like, oh, like when's the album?
Yeah.
Like,
well,
I guess slow down.
I guess
like,
if we're wrapping up on this kind of stuff, what are your next priorities as a band? Not like goals or whatever, but as a band, what are your priorities?
Well, second single, which will be out in the summer.
Yeah.
We're working on that now. And then
little preview.
That'd
be beast.
Don't even dream of it. But second single out in the summer, and then
House track.
Yeah. But I think it's it's just it's really weird because it's such a tender time at the moment.
Yeah.
Nobody knows when. Well, realistically, the music and entertainment industry is going to be the last thing to open.
Yeah.
So it's a really tender time to kind of
set out goals.
Yeah, like I don't know when a gig is going to be. Like it realistically will be outdoor gigs first, and then who knows? Like it might not be till the winter that you can even go indoors to a gig, which is really depressing thought. But so I don't know. It's hard to kind of create those plans. I think essentially the main thing is just don't slow down.
Yeah.
Just keep going. Do it. Get a second single done. The live stream obviously is just going to be there.
It's a video shoot then at some point.
more work for Per.
No. We'll go hit like that, because that if the tune is what I think it is, that's a summer like getaway tune.
Oh, it is. Yeah. It's beer garden tunes blaring. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But so I think just get that done, because realistically, like you need to just keep. Like we could do, like, you know, we could do 6 singles before we do even an EP, or an album is, you know, that's a lot of work.
Yeah,
it's a lot of work. So I think it's essentially is just keep things going. Don't let it slow down. Don't rest on your laurels, and just see where it takes you, because as I said, nobody knows. Like you know, and people will know from watching the live stream that we have a collection of songs. I mean, it's a 25-minute gig. Do you know what I mean? So, and then we have other tunes we're working on, like Rebel Child and Hazy Infatuation, and even this second single, that's 9 songs already.
Yeah.
Like that's essentially a short, like an album.
Yeah. So
like that's even all of those together is like a 40-minute set.
Do you know what album name?
What?
Mum Found Out.
That's the title of a documentary.
Mum knows.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Mum was filming.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that's it really. Like,
I guess
in terms of like what's happening next.
So for people who are coming over to you now, or who want to know what they can do to support the band going forward, why don't you let them know where they can find you so far?
You can check us out on Instagram, Don't Tell Mum Official.
Yeah.
Don't Tell Mum Band on Twitter.
Yeah.
Just Don't Tell Mum on Facebook.
Yeah. You like your Facebook? Facebook pops.
Well, it's still got the most amount of users
and
of any.
Shareability's crazy.
It's still got the most amount of users of any social media platform.
Actually, Sam's actually one of the most personal.
Yeah. I've actually got the fact in my pocket.
I'm sloshed.
Not even sorry. Who cares?
My pod.
Yeah, whatever, man. It's why you don't get into radio. You can do whatever you want.
Usually, knock it over. Like.
Yeah, I'm done with this shit. But yeah. It's Facebook. I think it's just it's weird, man. Facebook's a strange one where everyone was on Facebook like 5 years ago, and now it's just like all older demographics. Like your parents and aunties and uncles are on Facebook.
It's your man's dad's mate who runs a production company,
and who has a conversation in the comments section of your profile with someone they haven't talked to in like 10 years.
You don't need fucking Dave and the boys having a chat on like Instagram. Like, this is 6 down.
How are the kids?
Yeah.
But well, I think more for promoters and stuff, like MCD and Aikens and stuff, they're still very heavily like
Yeah.
the only reason I've kept Facebook is for events. Well, for this now obviously, but before this would have been events.
Searchability in terms of like your ads and
Yeah.
stuff, it'll all run through it.
I think there's still the most amount of users on it as well. So, but I think they're the three, and our YouTube channel as well.
I'd be saying, if anyone who listens to this now, go on to the YouTube channel. I'll have it linked below here. I'll link the stream below this. Watch the stream. It'll tell you all you need to know about the boys. There's a little bit behind the scenes. You'll get to see like all of their songs. It's fucking porn for your ears. The fact the lads are giving it away. I want to say, from watching it back, you lads have got to cut those boys up and just little scoops, just pop those out on Instagram, just little music videos.
Well, that's what I think we're gonna do with the extra two tracks that we did.
Yeah, get those boys out because that's just it's such savage shit to have just sitting there.
Yeah.
But go watch that, man. You'll get a good feel for the band, and keep an eye on their shit. They're going to be heavily involved in the channel, and like what I'm doing, I'm putting a lot of eggs in that basket. Please,
yeah. When am I getting paid?
No. Sam, you've got to start charging for your work. It's fine. It's going to blow up. Jeez.
It won't bounce, I swear.
I've never seen a €40 check before. Oh man. Okay. Well, like, if you don't have any final thoughts, you have any final thoughts?
No. I think that's it.
Thank you all for coming on and drinking all my beers.
Your pod, bro.
Thank you for listening, lads. Very enjoyable one. I don't know when the next one's going to be. It's supposed to have Kirk on.
Oh, no way, really? Yeah.
Shocker. Kirk just doesn't answer. He's like Olympian. Let's do all that thing. Just doesn't answer my text, and then just So I'm trying to get more people on, but I'm going to be putting out bits of the band going forward, and check out their shit. You won't be disappointed.
Check out the socials, yeah.
All right, lads. Thanks so much for watching. See you boys later.
Cheers for having me on, bro.
High five.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Happy days. Sound.
Tested.
Nice one.
You. Nice, baby.
Nice.